welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new around here, my name is Katie, I'm a full-time sketchbook artist, and today we're going to be reviewing some coloured pencils. So if you're new to my channel, I do a lot of sketchbook work, I share my process, and I do a lot of material reviews. Today we are going to be reviewing the Holbein set of 36. Now if you saw my haul from a couple of weeks ago, you'll have seen that this was from Japan. So my lovely twin sister went to Japan and brought this back for me as a part of a surprise art supply haul. And Holbein is a really respected company. I've tried out their gouache and watercolour before, but I've never tested out their pencils. I did some very quick tests in that video, but I did ask if you wanted a full review, and that's what we're going to be doing today. And I'm also going to be, as well as swatching and testing these out, I'll be comparing them to my beloved Luminance pencils. So I've done a few comparisons on my YouTube channel before, and I'm actually going to make it into a playlist if you're interested, so I'll leave that linked in the cards. But I really like comparing it to other brands just so that we can see what the differences are, especially with cost and price, and seeing what will work best for you. I'll be doing my swatching in a Royal Talens sketchbook, so we'll start there, and then I'm also going to be testing those two pencils against each other. So this is how I generally do my comparisons. I've got some paint down here, acrylic gouache and traditional gouache, just so we can see how they layer. As a mixed media artist, I do use them mostly on top of other things, but I'll also do blending tests, hardness tests, and see just how versatile they are. So without further ado, let's open up these gorgeous pencils. I always love seeing them in rainbow order. The packaging might be different to, the packaging might be different to the UK version, and I will talk about cost as well later on. It comes in this lovely tin, which I did mention when I was unboxing it, that I don't want to keep it in here because I'm one of those artists who needs to see it to use it. If it gets stashed away in a drawer, then I'll forget about it, and I need to not keep these so precious. So we have 36 colours here, all the rainbow going along. It does come in a plastic inlay. I prefer the Luminance boxes where they actually come in the foam. That feels a little bit more classy, but you do pay for that. So it does come in this plastic sheet. And the pencils are full colour barrels, so in comparison to the Luminance are wood, so you only see the colour that it is on the tip, whereas the Holbein Artist Coloured Pencils are full barrels of the colour, which I think is really helpful, especially for you to see the colour straight up. I'm going to see how the lead compares to the colours, because sometimes that can vary, but I'm really excited to swatch these, so let me stop talking and let's get on with the swatching. Okay, so I have sharpened these all just to try and make it fair, because there was a comment when I unboxed it that there might be a coating on there from the factory. So they're all sharpened, and let's give them a swatch. They do have light fast ratings on, so that's what the little stars are. Looking at them in the box, there's quite a few 3-star, but some of them are 2-star, so I'll keep my eye on that one. But generally that indicates a really high light fast rating, so that's really good to see. So this first one is Crimson. You can buy them individually, so if there's a colour you like, then you can definitely just buy the one. Okay, so there's a little bit of the lead coming up, but it does feel nice and smooth. Kind of feels a little bit waxy. Next up we've got Carmine. Nice. Okay, yeah, I do think that the sharpening helped a lot actually from my initial test when I unboxed it. We have Scarlet. Ooh. So I sharpened them quite hard. You can see the lead is quite... I don't know that it's fragile because I'm pressing quite hard, but you can see there's a lot of lead coming up here. We have Pink. And then Jaune. I can't speak French. Jaune Brilliant. So a little bit of French sneaking in there. There's definitely more colours than this. So this is the 36 set. I'll pop it on screen, the full colour range of the Holbein Artist Pencils, because we do jump around a little bit. I'm sure there's colours in between these. And we have Orange. That one feels a little bit harder. Marigold. I love that name. It's always a really nice warm yellow. There's 3 yellows in this set, so we go from warm to cool. So this one's in the middle, this one's canary yellow. I did sharpen them to quite a tall point, which is why they're snapping a little bit. Then our cool yellow is Lemon. Yeah, there's a lot coming off here. It'll be interesting to do that with the Luminance. I'm pretty sure the Luminance has got a stronger lead than this. Then moving straight on to green, so we've got Apple Green. And then Fresh Green. This is very luminous, almost a neon green. Not the kind of green that I tend to use in my work. I'd love to see a light olive green in this set, but obviously I can buy individual ones on top. So we've got emerald green here. Then moving back to more sort of an olive green, it's moss green. That's my kind of green, that one. Then I feel like this one should have been next to the emerald green. This is Viridian. Lovely bright colour that. That will look lovely with that pink. And then we have holly green. It's quite a cool tone green again. Then our darkest green is forest green. Oh, that's much cooler actually. That's kind of like a darker turquoise. Definitely a lot of blue tone in that one. Next up is ice green. Oh, nice. I expected that to be a bit more muted. It's a bit more of a light turquoise to me. I would say that's a blue actually, not a green. Let's see how it compares to the barrel. I mean, it's pretty similar. I don't know why, I just thought that would be a bit more muted. Now onto our blues. We have aqua. Interesting, I would just call that a light blue or sky blue usually. To me, the one next to it is aqua. Then turquoise blue. And cerulean blue. Just speeding through here. Oh, interesting. Okay. I found an issue where I sharpened it, so it did look like this. But when I turn it around, you can see the lead's completely split there. So that's quite weak, that one. Yeah, I can easily just snap that off. So let's resharpen this and try that again. So this one is cobalt blue. These blues are kind of similar in tone. We have quite a lot of blues in this set. We've got another 2 to go, but these ones are very mid-tone. We only have one light tone blue. Next up is royal blue. Yeah, that's definitely more royal blue than the one left to it. And a touch more warmth in it, so definitely a warmer blue, but these are all pretty similar. Then our darkest blue is Prussian blue. Okay, again, not that dark, I'd say. That one's more of a muted blue. But we've got quite a lot of the same tones here. We also only have one purple in this set, and that is violet. It'd be nice to see a lilac in this set. Maybe swap one of those blues. But this is just, if you're looking at buying this set, I hope this is helpful. We have a couple more pinks, so we've gone back to pinks. This one is called Cosmos. I like that name. Yeah, a nice kind of flamingo-y pink, that one, or Barbie pink, I suppose. And then our last pink is magenta. Okay, a bit more of the lead breaking there. But I can see that's darker than that one, so it's nice to see the different tones there paired with the pink that we did before. Then we have yellow ochre. So this is the only ochre in the set. I feel like this would or should sit between the yellow and the oranges, but it is sitting with the browns, which does make sense. So we have this one. And then light red. So far we've had all 2 and 3 asterisks, so no 1-star light fastness yet. This is more, yeah, this is definitely a warm light red. And then we have burnt sienna, which is very similar, a little bit more orange toned. A nice warm brown. Next to that we have a cool brown, so this is raw umber. Let's see how this looks. Oh yeah, it almost comes across green. It's only a cool toned brown. And then burnt umber. That's nice. A nice dark tone there. We have an even darker brown next to that, which is sepia. Oh, okay, it's not actually much darker. It looks darker on the barrel. It's definitely more cool toned. Now onto our greys. It looks like we have a warm and a cool grey. So first up, yeah, we have one cool warm grey. That says warm grey number 3, so there must be some other warm greys in the collection, but not in this set. Oh yeah, definitely a nice warm grey. I really like that. And then we have cool grey number 3. It's definitely more blue purple toned. Feels like there's a lot of violet in that one. And then coming up to our last 2, we have black. Nice rich black. And lastly we have white. Isn't going to show up much on this paper, but it is there. Okay, there we go. There is the Holbein pencil set of 36 swatches. Now let's do some tests for hardness and line thickness. As we saw, I'm going to test out the strength of this lead. I'm going to do it alongside the Luminance as well, because I think that will be a good comparison. Okay, so first off, let's do line thickness. I'll start with the Holbein, and I'm picking colours that are very similar. So we have medium cadmium yellow in the Luminance and canary yellow in the Holbein. So I'm pressing thin and then thick. I can get quite a thick line there, and yeah, I can go nice and thin as well. Let's do the same on the Luminance. So yeah, pretty similar there. Okay, I think, yeah, that's pretty much the same in terms of line thickness. The Holbein might be a little bit thicker, but pretty similar there. Let's also do a hardness test, and I'll pick some different colours as well. Okay, so for the Holbein I've picked pink, and the Luminance is anthraquinoid pink. So I'm going to do it really light at first, just to see how light we can get it. And then really, really hard. Okay, so you can see quite a lot of the lead coming off the page there. So I'm going to leave that there and do the Luminance next to it. So we'll go light again. And then really, really hard. Okay, yeah, there's so much less lead coming off the paper there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the camera's picking it up, but you can see here all of the lead coming off there and nothing on the Luminance. In terms of the opacity, they are pretty similar. I'm going to try and really wear down this lead so we can also test the sharpening. So I'll do that on a scrap piece of paper. I basically just want to wear it down. It does feel pretty smooth. I can definitely feel the softness, much smoother than the Faber Castel Polychromos. Just want to see how long it takes to wear it down. I'm losing huge chunks of the lead here. We're pretty much there to the wood now, so I'll show you a close-up. You can see they've really worn it down. So I find this is quite a good test, because I do find that my Luminance wears down pretty quick. So let's see how much we can fill on the same size test of paper, but with the Luminance. Okay, we do have a little bit of pigment coming up here, which is interesting to see. I'd say less than the Holbein, but certainly more than we had on the sketchbook. Okay, I think we're able to fill more of this. Yeah, definitely. I still have a bit more before we get right to the bottom. Actually, I think I'll fill this whole thing. So there's my scrappy piece of paper, and here's how the Luminance is looking. So you can see there, we've still got some on this side. It's not completely down to the nib like the Holbein is, so let me bring that one back in. So you can see a comparison there. There's also some more of the lead on here than we did on the Luminance. But I have managed to fill a lot more of that square of paper with the Luminance than the Holbein, which is really interesting to see. Obviously it's not a super scientific test, but I do think that is helpful. So that's the hardness and durability test. Now let's sharpen them, because I think that's also really helpful to do. I do get asked a lot about my sharpeners. This is the one that I use the most. This is the Derwent Pastel and Charcoal sharpeners. Now the Luminance are slightly thicker than some pencils, and this fits it really nicely. Also fits the Holbein. And if I want a sharpener with a bin, then I use this one, which I actually also picked up in Japan last year. This is the Faber Castel 9000. This has the dual holes, and I use this for when I'm out and about in plein air. Today I'm just going to use the Derwent one. So we have my two worn down pencils here. I just want to see how sharp I can get it and how much breakage we get, if any. So Holbein first. It doesn't feel very smooth to sharpen, I have to say. Feels like kind of like I'm breaking it. Okay. Yeah, not super smooth. There is some indentation on the lead, which I don't know if the camera will pick up, but hopefully you can see there. And it's not super smooth on the wood. But let's test the Luminance. And this is the normal sharpener that I use with the Luminance anyway. So there's still a little bit of a resistance. Oh, okay. I think that took less. Maybe a bit less. It felt quicker. Pretty similar in terms of the lead, some indentation there, and not a smooth wood either. So yeah, pretty similar I'd say with the sharpening tests. I've got a very similar point on both of them. So I'd probably say the hardness and durability. I think you can press as hard on both of them, and I didn't have any snapping of the lead, but I did have a few issues when I was swatching the Holbein where the lead was snapping, and I definitely think you get a bit more pigment on the page when you are swatching and using it quite hard with the Holbein. Yeah, there's definitely bigger chunks of the lead from the sharpening of the Holbein, and there's still quite a lot on the Luminance, but they're not quite as big. These are much smaller shards than over here. Okay, so now let's do a blending test. This is probably the biggest test for coloured pencils, especially for coloured pencil artists. I don't generally blend my pencils, but I know it's really helpful to see how they go. So I'm going to start with a yellow, so we'll pick the canary yellow and then move on to a red. So I'm moving on to scarlet. And for the Luminance, I'll pick a medium cadmium yellow and permanent red. So I'll start with the Holbein, and then we'll move on to the red. So I'll blend this in using the yellow. So there's my two colours, and let's see if we can soften up this blending in the middle. It does layer on top of each other really nicely. I do like the feeling of it. It feels like it layers. I said that they were quite waxy earlier. I can feel that there is definitely, it's not super matte on top now. I can feel where the pencil is. Oh, nice. Okay, they blend really lovely. Got a nice gradient there, I think. So let's do the same with the Luminance underneath. So again, we'll start with our yellow. I have got quite a lot of pencil dust on my page. Sometimes that can make things a little bit messy. This one's a slightly warmer yellow, I think. And then we have our red. Very similar colours actually here. Go back over. Oh, nice. Okay. Oh, okay. So I had a bit more colour actually on that lead. So I've brought it over a bit more. I can see more texture here. It feels a bit more waxy than the Holbein. But again, we've got a nice blend there. I feel like there's more texture on the Luminance. I'll see if the camera picks it up. So you can see here, I don't know, it looks a bit more mottled. This one feels much smoother compared to this one. Let's try that with completely different colours on the opposite side of the colour wheel. So let's do yellow and blue. So we've got canary yellow here. Oh, I've still got, yeah, so this still picks up a lot of the orange. Let's just clean these both off. So this is the Holbein, and this is the Luminance. So you can see they both picked up some red there. And let's blend this with the blue. So I've picked out royal blue for the Holbein and ultramarine for the Luminance. And I'll also actually, as well as blending, I'll see how it layers on top to make our green. So let's put a swatch down here. And then our blue. Okay, nice. Yeah, you can already see that green coming through. This is where we've got a bit more mottling, but I can blend that out and smooth it out a bit more. This is more similar to what we were seeing above with the Luminance. Obviously I am definitely not an expert with pencil blending, so I'm probably doing this all wrong, but hopefully this is helpful just to see how they compare, because I'm going to be doing them wrong on both of them. Okay, that's quite nice. I like that green. Let's see how it layers just on top of the yellow. Nice. Yeah, so it definitely does create this nice shade. So it clearly is picking up on the pigment underneath. If I come out of that yellow, you'll see the blue there. But you can see this texture. It might be my paper, to be honest. But yeah, okay, interesting. Let's do that with the Luminance. So this will go next to that Holbein swatch, just to be confusing. Not intentionally. So again, slightly warmer yellow. A patch for our layering into the ultramarine. Okay, less green looking there. Yeah, much less green. Obviously, we're getting quite a bit up as well on this one. It doesn't feel like it's blending at all. It feels like it's resisting. See if I can come back in with the yellow. Yeah, that really hasn't made a very nice green, and not a very nice texture as well. I'll put on screen which ones are wax or oil based, because I think that makes such a big difference with pencils. Let's see how this layers over. Okay, yeah, so it's not quite as rich when I layer this over. I can definitely feel where it's making it very waxy. picking up a lot. Wow, you can see that there. Whereas this wasn't breaking up the pigment, it is now picking up the pigment I think that's already down. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily blending in as much as scraping off. Wow, okay, yeah, that was way messier. And I can feel like I can scratch this off. Can I do that on the Holbein? A little bit, yes. But it definitely feels like, gosh, I'm getting messy here with these pencils. Definitely feels like there's more resistance on the Luminance. Okay, so I would say that the Holbein is definitely better with the blending there. I much preferred the feel of that, and it felt like it gave me less texture. I also really liked how they layered on top of each other compared to the Luminance. So that's really, really interesting to see. And hopefully you can see that in the close-ups as well. If I was to buy pencils based on blending, I actually think the Holbeins are better. And I feel like that's a good segue into price because there's a big difference here. Okay, so I'm going to put some graphics on the screen. So I'm going to base it on the UK prices from Jackson's Art and discount that I got these from Japan because in Japan it's so much cheaper because Holbein is based there. But I'll base it off the Jackson's Art current sites as of June 2025. So a single Holbein pencil is £2.50, whereas a single Luminance pencil is £3.60. This set of 36 Holbein Artist Coloured Pencils is £74. Now they don't do sets of 36 of the Luminance, but they do a set of 40 and that was £127. So a very, very big difference in the markup. The Luminance is a whole pound more just for a single one. I know it can vary. I get quite a few comments saying that things are cheaper in their country than they are here in the UK, but I've got to base it on what I can get. And that's a very big difference there. So really, really interesting to see. And at first when I tried these Holbein, I didn't think they were as soft. And I don't think they're quite as soft, but they're definitely still soft. And it did definitely help me sharpening them. So those are our initial tests. Let's finish up with some layering tests and see how it works on top of paint. I'll also be doing a black and white test as well. Okay, so with these tests, I tend to pick a light and dark for both, and I'll also do a white and black test, because I find that's really helpful to see the opacity of the pigment. So let's pick this fresh green. So first up we have acrylic paint. This can sometimes dry quite glossy, but my acrylic paint is matte-ish, definitely not glossy, so let's see how it feels over this. Nice, yep, layers really well there. Let's try it on the black. Yeah, no issue. I do find that the black desaturates the pencil, so it really changes the colour. Now, I don't have such a garish kind of green for my Luminance because I did buy them. Most of them were individually, so I've colour picked my palette that way. Let's see if this olive yellow shows up. Okay, yeah, very different, but same in terms of the smoothness. And on the black too. So let's try the black and white on acrylic. First up with the Holbein. So black first. Oh yeah, no problem at all there. It layers on nicely, there's no issues. And then the white. Ooh, that's nice and pigmented. Oh, that is a nice white. Let's test the white that I have. I only have buff titanium in the Luminance. Oh, I don't think I even have a black. So perhaps this isn't the best test, but I'll use the dark indigo, which I use as my black. And that's still really, really pigmented. Yeah, and the white shows up too. Let's test on the black now. Obviously black on black won't show much. Yeah, that's just making it shine really on top of that one. Let's test the white. Oh yeah. Oh, that's really pigmented. That's nice. I generally use Chinese white in Derwent drawing for my white, but that's really lovely. And then the dark indigo. A bit less shiny actually. It's not quite as glossy over that one. And then my buff titanium in the Luminance. Yeah, still really, really pigmented. So very, very similar here. I'll test it on the acrylic gouache, but it'll probably be the same. I'll pick some other colours just to swap things up, but I'll still do my black and white test. So here I've got the light red Holbein. Oh, that glides on really, really nicely. And then the terracotta Luminance. Oh, it feels a little bit more resistance there. Just a little bit. Let's do the black. Holbein gouache I use as my base layers. This one I can feel more resistance to. You can probably hear that as well. Let's test the white. This is lemon yellow, so slightly different tone of yellow than the acrylic above. Okay, yeah, still pretty pigmented on there. And then the Luminance versions. Okay, yeah, that's much more pigmented. Kind of made my black a little bit more grey there. And above titanium. This isn't a true white, so it's definitely got a different colour there. It's probably not showing up as well. Okay, same colours on the black. Oh yeah, you can really see there how it desaturates the colour. In certain lights, like over here, you can see it's much more shiny. Exactly the same with the Luminance. It's to be expected really on black. Let's test out the white. I'm really impressed with that white, that's really nice. The black, yeah, it just shows up as shiny really. Now the white Luminance. Oh, okay. Probably not quite as good there. It's kind of blending in, creating a grey there. And then the dark indigo. Oh yeah. Okay, that's very different from the acrylic above. The dark indigo Luminance worked better on the acrylic than the acrylic gouache. Okay, I think the white is more pigmented there. So let's try it on traditional gouache. Again, I'll swap out my colour. So I do mostly use my coloured pencils on top of gouache. So we've just got a blue here. Yeah, it feels really, really nice on top of that. Let's test out my Luminance. Yep, very, very similar. Maybe a bit less soft. I can feel a bit more scratchiness there. And now our white and blacks. So black Holbein. Really nice. And the white one. Yeah, I can still see that on the yellow, which is cool. Then my dark indigo, which I do use in place of black. You can see just how dark it is. It looks very similar to black there. And the buff titanium. Yeah, still really pigmented. This is obviously not pure white, as I said, so it's not a super fair test. Let me see. This is the Chinese drawing white. Yeah, it's pretty similar actually. Let's test that on the acrylic. Yeah, similar to both, I'd say there. Okay, back to the black gouache, starting with the Holbein. Ooh, wow. That looks lovely on that. That's really pigmented. I haven't lost a lot of the colour there. Then the Luminance is very similar. Ah, that makes such a difference, putting this pencil on gouache instead of acrylic-based paint. So now for the white Holbein. Yeah, that's a lovely white. It's really, really pigmented. And then the black. Okay, yeah, that's just coming out shiny. Now the buff titanium Luminance. Oh yeah, gosh, it does layer really nicely on here. And the dark indigo. That brings out a kind of mauvey tone there. Yeah, that doesn't work as well. But let's also test out the Derwent drawing white. Okay, yeah, very on par, all of those whites. Okay, so that is the layering test. So let's bring it all together and I'll give you my final thoughts. Okay, so I really like these pencils. I am impressed with how they feel. I definitely can see myself using them alongside the Luminance and maybe even seeing on their full colour catalogue if there's ones that the Luminance just don't have. Luminance do have quite a big collection. Again, I'll put on screen the differences and the amount of colours in each set. But I do think they're very similar, especially in terms of how they lay out on top of the paint. That was really useful for me as a mixed media artist, and they were pretty much on a level playing field, I'd say. I think it might depend on the pigment and how of each of the pencils, of how they'll feel depending on the colours. But yeah, I'd say those were very similar. Line thickness also very similar. The hardness and durability, as you saw, there was a bit more pigment coming off the Holbein, and I do think that they wear down pretty quick. But that is the norm for soft pencils, and interesting to see that the Luminance actually did more before needing to be sharpened, because to me, I need to sharpen them all the time and I do get through them a lot. I really love the Luminance, but they are quite expensive, so I am going to be looking at seeing if I'm going to prefer the Holbein. I think I might look at their range and see if there's some similar colours, and then I can really see how they work in my usual workflow. The biggest difference I think is the blending. I could really feel the difference with the Luminance. Perhaps I'm not using it right, perhaps I need like the blending fluid and learn actually how to blend the coloured pencils. But as a complete novice, I much preferred blending with the Holbeins than I did with the Luminance. I prefer the texture that I get with the Holbein and the feeling as well. it really felt like I was battling a little bit. It wasn't blending smoothly with the Luminance. It felt like I was just layering on top rather than blending it in. So for that one, I think the Holbein wins. But I hope you found this video helpful if you're looking at Luminance and Holbein pencils in the future, especially depending on the cost where it is in your country. A huge thank you for watching. A big thank you to my patrons for their support. Without them, I wouldn't be able to make these YouTube videos or be able to buy these new art supplies. So huge thank you to them, and thank you for watching. Let me know what you think down below in the comments if you agree with my thoughts, or if you completely disagree, or if you have a coloured pencil that I have never tried before and want me to test. I will see you all next Sunday in my new YouTube video. See you later!